Okay, well, we're recording. Hello, everyone, and welcome to OceanView's first annual Engaging with Community event. We're very excited to bring this presentation back. We started it last year, was our inaugural year, and we had such great response on it. We decided we should bring it back, and we have 4 new speakers this year. But first, let me just say a welcome from OceanView at Falmouth and Cumberland Crossing by OceanView. Very lively and happy senior communities in Southern Maine offering independent living. And on our Falmouth campus at OceanView, we have assisted living and legacy memory care as well. If you're interested in learning more about either of those communities, I hope you'll reach out to us. You'll be getting a email from us at the end of this presentation. And certainly if you have any questions about our communities and the fun and engaging things that we do, we'd be happy to tell you more about it and give you a tour of our communities. But today we're joined by 4 great organizations that this organization likes to support, and that's part of how we come up with these guest lists, if you will. But today we're joined by Kathy Leddy at Hospice of Southern Maine, Morgan Rodgers with a volunteer as well from Maine State Music Theater. Cindy Lemieux is joining her. Mary Hadlock from the Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging. I can say that, I really can. And then Shannon Cote from the Animal Refuge League of Greater Portland. And what we're going to do is we'll take questions at the end of each presentation and then again at the end of the program. So if you have a question, if you're a participant on the call, please click the Q&A button. I've promised our speakers that I'm going to be their eyes so that they don't have to keep darting over to the box that has a question in it. I did tell them that if the question seemed particularly relevant to what they were saying at that one time, that I might break in and ask them to answer it right away. But if it's a question that can wait until the end of their presentation, we'll do that. But we'll certainly also take questions at the very end. So you're welcome to hit that Q&A button whenever you'd like. And we'll make sure that they get to answering your questions. But let me start. Kathy Leddy from the Hospice of Southern Maine. She's the volunteer services manager. She's been there for nearly 5 years, and she loves being witness to the selfless giving of the volunteers and the immediate impact that they make for so many individuals. And having an aunt who went through a hospice situation, I understand that very much. I know it's an honor, and I've heard that more than once from people who volunteer with hospice. And the folks that she works with, the volunteers, they can simply be present, sitting with a person or helping with tasks like stacking wood or walking a dog or whatever it takes. But either way, whatever they're doing, it's to give the person in hospice a sense of peace. And so I'll let Kathy take it from here to talk a little bit more about the volunteer opportunities that her organization makes available to people. So Kathy, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. That's such a beautiful opening. And thank you to the OceanView community for having us today. And obviously all of these nonprofits that are here. This is really a fantastic group who gives so much to the community in every way, shape, and form. So I'm so thankful to hear their presentations, and I'm so happy for the work that they do. So Hospice of Southern Maine, I'll start to talk a little bit about the organization, and then we'll jump into a little bit about what our volunteers do. So Hospice of Southern Maine's goal is really to provide compassion, care, and comfort through end of life. And this is our team headquarters. We started back in 2003, helping individuals and their loved ones face end of life. And the majority of that was really done in the home program. We needed a facility and an office, and over time that office became very old. And so in 2020, when COVID hit, our new building was ready. And this was greatly given by community members. Very little of this has been funded by Hospice of Southern Maine, but It just goes to show you the caring power of our community and how much they believe in the work that we do. And so we're very grateful for that. Shortly after 2003, we realized that some patients needed a little bit of help outside their home. And so maybe they don't have a loved one, or they have a person who can't care for them anymore, or maybe sometimes their symptom management became too great to manage at home, and we needed a facility to transfer people to so that they didn't have to go to a hospital. And so what many people don't know is that the Gosnell Memorial Hospice House is actually part of Hospice of Southern Maine. It is our 18-bed facility. And what you don't know about these two facilities is that our new building is solar powered and also has geothermal heat, and all of the extra that's gained from that building goes towards the expenses, the electrical bill and things at the Gosnell Memorial House. So we're very, very efficient. Our office space in the main office serves as administrative offices. People can just come in, whereas the Gosnell Memorial Hospice House is where families come to visit their patients, their family members. They're full suites there, so they can stay overnight with their loved one. There's food there, and there's lots of staff around to help support them in their everyday needs throughout the time that they're there with us. They can also come, even if they aren't facing end of life, to do a short stay for up to 5 days, and that can give their family members time to get a little bit of respite and time away, re-energize themselves so that they can take care of their loved ones. What is hospice care? A lot of individuals ask us, what is hospice care and what does that mean? Basically, what hospice care is a focus on end of life. We're not seeking a cure. It is comfort-based. Individuals who have come to hospice care choose that. And what we really try to do is improve their quality of life and help them reach whatever goals that they want to meet, whether that's writing letters to loved ones, whether it's having a final trip. Whatever those things are, we try to surround them with the people who can help with that. We want people to know that hospice isn't about giving up, it's about taking charge, and setting those goals is part of that. They can self-refer into hospice. They don't need a physician to do that. However, they do need something from their physician saying that they are within 6 months of end of life. Medicare does have requirements around this. I put this up just for your viewing pleasure. But again, a physician does not need to refer you. You can do that on your own. And we really work as an interdisciplinary team. And here's a few of the individuals that are involved in that team. So we have our nurses who provide really the coordination of care as a whole. Our hospice nurses, aides, social workers to help with the psychosocial needs, chaplains to help with the spiritual needs. We do have physicians on staff, but many people will ask the question, do I have to take your physician? The answer is no. No, they can have their own physician, and we will work and coordinate all services through that physician as well. And then we have our great team of volunteers, and our volunteers really provide the non-medical care that's needed during end of life, whether it's sitting bedside for individuals who don't have someone, and lots of other things that you can think of, anything non-medical really. I like to break our volunteers out into two separate groups. One are our direct care volunteers. Those are individuals who serve as companions for physical, emotional support. They work with patients in our home program. About 92% of our patients are in our home program. And our administrative volunteers. And those are individuals who provide assistance with our clerical work. They could work in our main office. They could take home projects that are clerical in nature. And then, of course, we have a number of events throughout the year that I'll talk about. Our direct care service volunteers help largely with household chores in the house, light meal preparation. And when we talk about in the home, that can be wherever a patient resides. So skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, a house, an apartment, a shelter, wherever it is that they call home, that's where we're going to meet them. We provide respite care for the caregivers. This is time where the caregiver could go and do something else. They're banking, they're shopping, spend time with a friend, walking a beach, and know that they have some person who is responsible, that they can feel comfortable in leaving. We provide bedside companionship, assistance with life review, writing letter, completing projects of any kind that you can think of. We play a lot of games, and also assist staff at the Gosnell Memorial House with a lot of different tasks. Our complementary services volunteers who are direct care trained, we ask you to bring all of those wonderful skills that you have. So we have individuals who have talents in singing, they play different instruments. We have our paw prints programs where we have animals who are trained in pet therapy. Currently, we have a number of dogs, and we do have a new cat. So for people who have a preference, they go in and they visit patients at the Gosnell Memorial House. We also have Reiki in both the home program as well as at the Gosnell Memorial House. And this provides a lot of symptom relief. We have many patients who choose not to take any medication at end of life, but do like rest and relaxation and want to participate in our Reiki program. And so we do have a lot of Reiki volunteers that come in. This is our beautiful Hospice of Southern Maine team, and this is our appreciation event that we do each fall. We have about 151 Hospice of Southern Maine volunteers, all of which give many different types of talents and skill sets. This is a wonderful way of us celebrating them each year, and a good way for each one of them to get to see each other and talk about some of their work. And so it's really fun to get this crew together. We did this at the Black Point Inn this year. I mentioned a number of our events. This is our Hike for Hospice event, and this is a walk that is a fundraiser to support Hospice of Southern Maine's nonprofit mission. And you might say, well, why is that important? Well, we are a nonprofit. We accept all patients regardless of their ability to pay. And so events like this help to support them and keeping them at home and healthy through end of life. And so this is really one of the ways that we do this. And these volunteers are giving out t-shirts and greeting people. We have our Twilight in the Park event. This happens in the fall. And as you can see in the lower left-hand corner, we have some greeters in yellow who are telling people where their loved ones' luminaries are. And so this is a celebration event that we have to commemorate loved ones who have died, and their family and friends and caretakers can all come to it. And so we show them where their luminaries are, and then we have some individuals up here at the top right corner who are lighting those luminaries, and then you can see a beautiful picture down here of some of those all lit up at night. It's a wonderful event and it has a great program, so if you ever have a chance to go see it, come on in. Here are some of our musicians. We have a harpist, cellist, a gentleman who plays ukulele, and this is our Gosnell Memorial House living room. And so they bring their special talents here. Some of you might notice Susan Sanders. She's on our left, holding up a beautiful quilt that had just been donated to Gosnell Memorial House to place on the beds. She keeps photographic inventory of all of the quilts. She does all the repairs to the quilts and then lets us know when they need to be retired. So big thank you to Susan, who is part of that OceanView community. This is our tuck-in program. We have many retired nurses, social workers, individuals. Our tuck-in program, these individuals come out twice a week. They make phone calls to individuals in their homes and their loved ones to find out how things are going this week, wondering if they need any supplies like briefs, bed supplies, things like that. If any emergency comes up during those phone calls, they can refer them to a nurse right away. And then, of course, we can get those supplies out to them before the weekend so that our nursing staff is available for individuals who need us most. These are a couple of our pet therapy dogs that I mentioned earlier. Bridget's on our left and Nell is on the right. And if you have a dog, a pet therapy dog, or a cat, again, we do have a cat. We'd love to see them. We love to celebrate our volunteers, so it's not just the work. We really do take time to celebrate each and every one. On the left, you'll see Ron Morton. He's one of our veterans who works with other veterans as well as a number of individuals in the community helping sit bedside and taking care of them. And then on our right, we have Sarah Lazuski, and this is the Sea Dogs event that they hold each year for volunteer appreciation. And a number of our team members went. Sarah is our Agnes Flaherty Award winner this year, which is our highest award that we give to our volunteers each year. And she is also the Home Care and Alliance Volunteer of the Year. You might ask yourself, I want to become a volunteer. This looks like fun. And all we need you to do is to complete an application and provide a couple of references. I do an interview with you. If you'd like to become a direct care volunteer, which again is working with patients, we put you through a comprehensive training program. If you're working in administrative or event work, you don't need to go through that program, and that training is done all individually ad hoc. Hospice of Southern Maine, you can make an immediate impact. I always say there's so many ways to give your time and energy here at Hospice of Southern Maine. As is most nonprofits, we really value our volunteers and we need them in order to do this work. But at Hospice of Southern Maine, it is a requirement by Medicare that we match all of our medical time to volunteer time. So for every hour that is given by a nurse, social worker, physician on our team, we need to match it by 5% volunteer time. That is part of us being a hospice organization, and without that, we cannot function. So it is super important. You might say, why Hospice of Southern Maine? As I mentioned, you make an immediate impact on an individual and family member, but even more so, you can be part of a team. This year we were given a Hospice Honors Elite Award. We are the only hospice in the state of Maine that was given this award, and only one of 66 across the country who were given this honor. And it's awarded to individual hospice organizations who do all the right things, right? They get positive results on all of the surveys that are sent out for to patients and their loved ones. It's billing correctly. It's providing above and beyond for those families in need. So we're super proud of that, and we hope to be a 2023 recipient again this year. There are so many ways to give your support to Hospice of Southern Maine. Donating your time is just one of them, and so I've listed out a few here. Also, we do have 2 residents that live at OceanView, and I always say our volunteers are the best resource that you can possibly reach out to. So Nancy Wander and Susan Sanders are a big part of our direct care volunteers, but they also do events, bereavement calls. As you saw earlier, Susan does a lot of our quilting and help repair of quilts. And so we're so fortunate to have them. So they have offered to field any phone calls that you might have, but thank you for having us. And I think I'll just leave it open to questions.
Thanks so much, Kathy. That was wonderful. And it's so nice for you to connect to our OceanView residents as well. I should turn on my, I guess, Dustin, you need to turn on my video because I can't. You're the boss. Oh, I got an ask from you. Okay, there we go. So Kathy, that was a great comprehensive list, understanding of hospice. I did have one question that came through, and is what kind of time commitment is required for someone who might want to be a volunteer? Does someone need to commit a certain amount of time every week, or is it a certain day, or is it really, how does that work, I guess?
Yeah, so our administrative and event volunteers, they really do that on their own schedule, their own time frame, so they can pick and choose the amount of hours that they would like to give or not give. So that's a real easy way for people who have a problem with scheduling or maybe want to do things a little bit more ad hoc. That is a great way to do that. With our direct care volunteers, we still have a lot of ways that you can schedule your own time. We encourage people to give 4 hours per week. However, most families in the home program really like individuals to come maybe 1 to 2 hours per week. Usually they don't want much more outside that, but you'll always know that ahead of the assignment. And of course, at the Gosnell Memorial Hospice House, again, you can schedule your own time. So you could have a regular shift every week, which is approximately 3 hours. But if you only wanted to give 1 hour a week, you could do that as well. And you could pick the time and the date that you wanted to do that. So we really try to be flexible.
Excellent. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to go over that, because I think it's such an important service that we have available to folks here in Southern Maine. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now to the Maine State Music Theater. Many of us have probably attended a performance or 20 or more at the Maine State Music Theater. And we have Morgan Rodgers with us today. And she's also joined by Cindy Lemieux, who's the current MSMT Angels president. But Morgan is the Maine State Music Theater Development Director. She's originally from Tampa, Florida. How does Maine feel this week? Is what I feel like I should ask you.
It's warmer this year than it has been. So
well, that's true. I mean, this is a crazy winter, but in any case, Morgan joined Maine State Music Theater at the start of the 2021 season. And she studied marketing and theater at Florida State University and worked professionally as a props and scenic designer after graduating from college. And Morgan's job, I was looking at the list of things you were responsible for, Morgan, and I get tired for you. She's responsible for sponsorship and advertising programs, donor relations, community engagement, and event and trip management. I don't know how you have time to even be here today, but we thank you for that. And Morgan and Cindy, please tell us more about what's available for folks at Maine State Music Theater, because I'm sure that there are a lot of Broadway kids out there who who want to know. And I already have a question that we will we'll get to at the end of your presentation.
Perfect. Well, can you see my screen okay? I just want to make sure that's coming up. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for putting this together. We are incredibly lucky to have OceanView as a partner, longtime partner of Maine State Music Theater. MSMT is a nonprofit. We function only with the support of our community, our volunteers, local business partners. So it was when we got this opportunity to be a part of this program, I was so excited that we were going to be able to participate and talk a little bit more about our volunteer programs, especially now that we're coming out of the pandemic era for theater. A lot of our programs had kind of been shut down a little bit. We weren't able to do as much just due to union requirements. So a lot of these things that have historically taken place are opening back up again, and we're just really excited to share those opportunities. Like I said, my name is Morgan. I'm the development director here at Maine State. We are a very small company, so we do a little bit of everything here. Cindy's our Angels president, which is an affiliated organization that handles a lot of our volunteer needs, and she'll talk a little bit more about that later. If you are not familiar with MSMT, our slogan is bringing Broadway to Brunswick. We take pride in bringing a Broadway quality theater right here to the Mid-Coast region. The theater's been around since 1959, and it used to be called the Brunswick Summer Playhouse, but today we're still housed inside of the Pickard Theater, which is on Bowdoin College's campus. We are not a part of Bowdoin itself. We're two completely separate organizations. We rent our facility out from them every single year. They're very gracious hosts, so we have their facilities for 3 months, and in that 3 months, we produce 3 weeks of 4 different main stage musicals, 3 different concerts, and 4 theater for young audiences performances. We're a professional company, even though we're a nonprofit. So all of our performers come to us from New York, from Atlanta, from LA, all over the country. These are people that are working on Broadway, they're working in film and television, and we hire them specifically to come and do whatever performance we've planned for this particular year. Now during the summer, our annual staff that's here year round is just about 10 people, but that swells to about 150 to 200 people during the summer. So with that massive increase in the number of personnel we're working with, we need a lot of support from the community members in order to make sure that those people are acclimated, they understand what's going on here in Brunswick and Bath and Topsom, and how to get the most out of their summers as well. Because even though they're here to work, we still want to make sure that they're having fun and participating in the community. And I'm sure many of you guys have been out to restaurants and seen performers that are in the shows. They're just regular people too. So this year we are doing, starting from June 7th, we're doing Titanic. We've also got Buddy Holly. We're bringing that one back, followed by 9 to 5, and then Something Rotten, which a lot of people aren't familiar with that particular one. It's a show about Shakespeare. That's tap dancing show, super fun. Very excited about that one. Our concert series includes Dolly Parton, the Beatles, and Elvis Presley, King in Concert. And then we've got 3 kids shows this year as well: 3 Little Pigs, Alice in Wonderland, and Rapunzel. But like I said, it takes a village. Our actors and technicians come from all over the country. We used to have a lot more of our staff base coming from the collegiate level. They'd be coming just for the summer between classes, but more and more we're hiring people that are postgraduate that are coming here specifically to be members of our staff as part of their careers. And we need help in order to make all of that work. So that's kind of where the Angels come in. So I'll kind of pass it on to Cindy to talk a little bit about the Angels.
Yeah, the Angels are an organization. We do whatever we can to help out Maine State Music Theater. We have retirees, we have young people, everybody is welcome. We have 6 meetings throughout the summer, and there's no real time commitment. Anything that you can do to help us would be beneficial and appreciated. I personally like getting involved in the theater, which I didn't do as a child or an adult. So I get to see behind the scenes a little bit on what happens and make new friends along the way. I try to extend myself beyond just volunteering in my little group. I try to extend myself so I meet new friends and meet the community. Even though I grew up here, the theater is a totally different forum that I'm not used to. So I thoroughly enjoyed my time. This is my first year as president. I was elected in September, and hopefully I will see many new people come and join our Angels group this year. That's going to be my focus. Many hands make light work is what my mom always used to say. So I'm really going to make that my #1 effort this year. So I hope to see many of you signing up today or whenever. That'd be great. The great thing, oh, go ahead.
Cindy is kind of our go-to person for all things volunteers. So when we need something as a staff, and when we think that we need some volunteer support for that, she's the person that kind of helps organize those efforts. So that comes in a couple different forms.
Right. One of the biggest things that we help with is transportation. We pick up any of the staff, the actors from the bus station, from the airport, and go back and forth as many times as we need. We did probably 80 to 100 transports this summer. And that is an opportunity for an angel to talk to the actors, and the technicians, get to know them and make lifelong friends, actually. And people have done that and keep in touch. And we've had angels going on to other theaters to watch and support their actors, which is wonderful, I think. And we do some grocery runs. If there's any need for groceries, we are here to do that. I enjoy meeting the cast in many ways, whether it be, behind the scenes or like at the library. What's the name of that show there?
Which one? Peek Behind the Curtain.
Yeah, Peek Behind the Curtain. That's a lot of fun. And that's another thing I love is we get to go to the costume shop and see how that's run. And then if you are a seamstress in any way, you can actually help volunteer over there. And that would be.
So we'll kind of break down these different areas. So the first one's transportation, right? Like that's one of the predominant areas that you guys can help with, like she was kind of walking through when she mentioned the costume rentals. So we do have a costume rental shop that exists over at the fort. Many of the packages that you see here on the main stage were either produced here in Brunswick or were purchased by us through other theaters. So we keep up full stock of different show packages. Some of them were on Broadway. We own the original West End package from Spamalot, the Monty Python musical, which was originally used by Tim Curry. And if any of you guys are Ted Lasso fans, Hannah Waddingham was in that original production. So they wore those costumes. We purchased it. Now we have it, and we have the ability to rent those costumes out. So that is a huge revenue stream for us as the theater. But a lot of those costumes, as they're used, they worn, they get rips and need repairs. So anyone who's got any experience with sewing or alterations, or to be honest, just organization, that's a really important area that we can use some additional support. That's one of the areas that the Angels has helped us with in the past, is helping to keep those costumes up to date and ready to go on stage.
Sure. And another one of our duties, I'll call it, is distribution. We put out posters and flyers all over, not just the Brunswick area. We go even as far as to Freiburg if we need be. So we have many different people, and they filter out. And then we go back maybe once or twice throughout the season to restock if necessary.
Yeah, that's a really great way to make sure that all of our shows are being well attended, making sure that the local businesses and communities are staying aware of what's happening. We know that we get a lot of support from the community. We just want to make sure people are seeing them. The last area is kind of the miscellaneous area that we want to talk about today. So This includes welcome bags, event support, and some other extraneous events. So from event support, many of you guys may have seen the yard sale that we hosted last year, the Technicolor yard sale. We're going to be doing that again this year. We also traditionally have a costume sale every year. So items that are moving out of our costume stock, those go up on sale in October. Those are massive events and require a lot of heavy lifting from the staff here. So we do rely on our volunteers to make sure that they're there to answer questions, help keep things organized, and really just staff those events that are really big fundraisers for the theater itself. Do you want to talk about welcome bags?
Sure. When anybody comes to Brunswick, they get a wonderful little welcome bag that we put together, and they have coupons for different area restaurants and water bottles and pens and anything that, you know, we think that they would love and enjoy throughout their stay here in Brunswick. I also want to say about those events that Morgan just mentioned, they're also fun to go to and be there, especially the costume sale. We dress up and have fun. It's not all work. We want to interact with the folks and have fun.
Yeah. And then this is just kind of that other requests. Whenever we've got something that comes up, the Angels are often the first people we turn to when we need that additional support during the season. It's a big effort, and we are very lucky to have them assisting us, both working like directly with the company itself, but also independently on these individual projects. Another couple ways that you can help, which are related to MSMT, but not necessarily directly through the Angels. So our housing committee, this is a place that we always need a lot of help and are really desperate to get some additional committee members there. MSMT owns a couple different properties within walking distance of the theater. As you can imagine, when we're bringing a bunch of these performers here, if they're only here for 4 or 5 weeks at a time during the summer, we're providing housing for those people, and that can get expensive and complicated to make sure that everyone's got a nice place to stay while they're here in town that's close to where they're going to be working. So we own a few properties that we use for that purpose, and every one of those properties has to get turned over between performers or crew members that are utilizing it. So when actor leaves, we might have 2 days to clean it up, restock it, and make sure that it's back and up to tip-top shape. That committee also is responsible for decorating all the apartments, making sure that they have enough silverware and appliances. It's a lot of fun for those people. They've gotten really tight-knit, but as we're acquiring more housing, we need more committee members to help make sure that those are staying up to snuff. The last area is an usher. So many of our Angels are ushers. However, not all of our ushers are Angels and vice versa. They're just kind of overlapping. All of our shows require ushers to help people get seated on time. If you've ever been to a show, you've talked to one of them. There's a lot of perks to doing that. It's a volunteer program entirely, but you do get to watch the shows while you're working. And then sometimes we offer free discounts depending on ticket availability. And then on opening nights, they're guaranteed seats depending on which night
you're an Angel.
Yeah, if you're an Angel. So if you signed up to be an Angel and you want to usher on opening night, you'll be able to sit down and watch that show along with everybody else as an usher. And now I want to talk just like perks about getting involved. Like we said, like we view MSMT as a very tight-knit community. We rely on our volunteers, and like Kathy was saying earlier, like as a nonprofit, we really need those people in order to help us survive. And we do our best to try to say thank you by involving all of our volunteers in different events and things throughout the season. So that looks like our season kickoff party. We do Tech Tuesdays. So the Tuesday before shows open, we invite all the Angels to come and watch a preview of the show before it's been opened. We do facility tours, so you can come and see our production facilities. It's really important to us that all of our volunteers really understand exactly what we're doing here and how complex this wonderful machine is that we all get to be a part of. So we would love to have new members coming in, especially as we're growing in a post-pandemic climate. We're hoping to continue growing and bringing new people into the MSMT family. And yeah, so as far as the actual mechanics of joining, so you can reach out to either one of us. Our contact information, I believe, is in the info, or you can see it right here. If you go to the MSMT website, msmt.org, there's a support tab at the top, and you can find the volunteer positions there. It's also there at msmt.org/angels, and there's a whole info sheet that you can fill out and send us your information, so that way we can reach out to you and get more details from you. As far as an angel, there is dues associated with this particular program. I believe
We have our dues are $35, and we supplement like some gas fees or food throughout the year, or if something comes up, if there's a bereavement need or anything. So we do maintain a little bit of a, a balance there.
Yeah, excellent. So that's kind of the basis. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, so that sounds like I had no idea there were so many things. Let's see how to get my video going here, Dustin. I'm not sure. There we are. So I had no idea there were so many things going on at Maine State Music Theater. That's very cool. We did have someone who wrote in a question before you started even, but I think you kind of answered it. But their question was around, are there other, for someone perhaps who was a theater kid, are there tech jobs backstage that are available as a volunteer, or because of unions and things like that, are those kinds of positions precluded from volunteer opportunities, be it, a tech position of some kind?
Yeah, all of our tech positions are hired. We do hire locals, but all of our crew members and staff members that are working directly on the productions come to us from a professional basis. They're not volunteer positions. Occasionally with like our Theater for Young Audiences series, there'll be some different types of things that go on, but those are they're one-off opportunities, typically as requests from the director or the design team or something.
And I think the question came before you went through the long list of things that are available, because it was like, do I just get to be an usher? Is that it? Or
we
is
have
more?
a ton to do. I would
You
say
have a
like
ton. Yeah.
the closest thing is really like our costume rentals. That's like the closest thing to the technical side. I totally get it. I come from a production side. I used to work in props and construction and stuff before I got an administrative position. So I like getting my hands dirty. But yeah, there's just limitations. A lot of it's liability, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Dangerous field. So
Yeah, it is. Well, that was great. Thank you both so much. It was such a pleasure to hear about all the different opportunities at the theater, and it's just such a gem. It's such a gem for Southern Maine, frankly.
thank you so much for your support.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's an easy thing to love. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next speaker is Mary Hadlock from the Southern Maine Agency on Aging, or SMA, as some people call it. Mary's a licensed social worker with more than 13 years of experience working together with volunteers. In addition to her agency-wide volunteer management position, she has led effective efforts to establish shared leadership responsibilities for highly skilled volunteers who take on more advanced roles and improve efficiencies of programs. And I think a dear friend of mine who has passed away, David Smith, I think was one of those folks at SMA that, took his expertise and helped the organization and took it to another level. I think when he used to do those Medicare presentations, I think is probably what this refers to, Mary. I could be wrong, but let's have Mary tell us a little bit more about what's available for folks who want to volunteer at the Southern Maine Agency on Aging. Thank you, Mary.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction, Shireen. And yes, Dave Smith is sorely missed. He served in multiple roles within the agency. So thank you for that. And thank you for thinking of Dave. But I just want to be sure that you can all see my screen. For some reason, I can't get it to go from the beginning, but if you can all see, get a full size screen, then I will continue. So again, my name is Mary Hadlock. I am the RSVP Volunteer Services Director at Southern Maine Agency on Aging. Our agency is one of the 5 area agency on agings within the state. We cover the area, we cover Cumberland and York counties. That's our service area. For some reason, with the exception of Brunswick and Harpswell, I have no idea why, but that's the case. Our mission is that we are the focal point in Cumberland, York counties for information and resources to empower older adults, adults with disabilities, and their caregivers to live to their fullest potential. And over in the circle of support, you can basically see our programs that we have within our agency that all include various volunteer opportunities, which I'll cover for you. One exciting thing that I want to mention is that this is actually our 50th year that we've been the Southern Maine Agency on Aging. So very exciting. We have lots of activities coming up for our volunteers this year. So great time to become involved if you're thinking about it. So I think I can go to the slideshow from the beginning. So I'll just do that. About our volunteer services, you may wonder, what is RSVP? So RSVP stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program. We are one of the 3 AmeriCorps Seniors program. We receive our funding federally. The majority of our funding comes through AmeriCorps federal funds. The other 2 programs you may have heard of, Foster Grandparent and Senior Companion. Those 2 programs are sponsored through our partnering agency, Opportunity Alliance. We currently have about 400 volunteers aged 18 to 55. Once you reach the age of 55 as a volunteer, you're automatically become a RSVP volunteer. Basically, no difference between our volunteers. You are entitled to some additional liability insurance as an RSVP volunteer. But in addition to that, we offer for benefits annual recognition luncheon for our volunteers. We also offer various opportunities throughout the year for additional training. Ones that we have coming up or just had were on fraud and abuse and on various topics that we like to keep our volunteers informed. Again, right now we have about 400 volunteers. And the other thing too is that we also work with volunteer organizations outside of our organization with additional nonprofits, and we call these stations, and actually include one that you heard of earlier because we all could not do the work without our volunteers, but Hospice of Southern Maine. But I'll talk a little bit more about those other opportunities. We also are in the process of receiving a service enterprise certification. And what this means, it helps us to leverage the skills and interest of our volunteers to help us better meet our mission. Going on under volunteer services directly, the volunteer opportunities that are available are our money minders and our phone pals. Our money minder volunteers support clients, helping to balance their checkbooks, establish their budgets, helping them write their checks. They do not sign the checks, and the clients need to be guide the volunteers. They need to be able to do that in order to be eligible for the program. And then we also have our phone pal program. We implemented this pre-pandemic and it's been very successful. And one thing that we found is that this is a completely remote opportunity. So if you're home, you have access to a phone, you're able to help make a difference in the life of someone who's maybe homebound, living alone, just lonely, could really use someone to be able to speak to. And so we're hoping to show in the current months the way that this program helps to reduce social isolation and loneliness. These volunteers contact their pal 1 to 3 times a week. Conversations are kept between 15 to 30 minutes. And as you can well expect, they really form a bond over this program. We also are looking for liaisons who are in a leadership role within this opportunity. And what they do is that they are able to act as an intermediary because many of our clients within the Phone Pal program come to us from our meal sites. And so they're able to act as an intermediary between the meal site managers and the volunteers. Next, we have our nutrition programs. Many of you will be very familiar with our Meals on Wheels program. That is actually where most of our volunteers, the roles that they fit, whether it's delivering meals or helping to pack meals. We serve over 1,000 clients on a weekly basis under that program. In addition to that, we also have our Simply Delivered. So if you know that you're going to be indisposed for a period of time, maybe you're being hospitalized and won't be able to cook, coming out, you'd be able to sign up to have Simply Delivered meals. And then we have the As You Like It cards, and those are, we partner with existing restaurants within Cumberland and York County, and you get a discounted meal with that card. It's really been a very great program. And then we also have our community cafes in various areas. So we're happy to say that those are now reopened, hopefully talking post-pandemic. But so those are some of the opportunities under our nutrition program. And then we have our Age Well program that also falls under the Healthy Aging umbrella. And those include our Matter of Balance, Tai Chi, and virtual wellness classes. The virtual wellness came about during the pandemic. Matter of Balance is a evidence-based course that you'd be fully trained. We do some of these now virtually, these programs are offered, as well as Tai Chi. And then we have also our Conversation Cafe, where it's just a time to bring folks together. And as part of the service, we've also introduced a poetry reading class within this program. So we have a team of volunteer leaders to help to organize and schedule these programs. And we'd love and welcome more folks to be able to join these classes. And then we have our information, our community services department, which oversees our information and resources. So generally, when you contact the organization, you would be connected with one of our resource specialists. And this is where if you're looking for any assistance on housing, or you need assistance to find out legal assistance, where to get that and who to go to, they'd be able to provide all of that to you. Medicare program, as Shireen mentioned, Dave Smith was one of our Medicare volunteers. We offer Medicare seminars for those that are new to Medicare. And again, we offer this as a free, unbiased, objective information. And then we offer a one-on-one counseling. Many of you know open enrollment just closed. Right now we're into the Medicare Advantage Plan enrollment period, but take advantage of the opportunity to review your insurance. And so we're always looking for assistance within these programs as well too. And then we have our family caregiver support program. I will let you know that the folks that oversee this program are just so well versed in the program. We have a caregiver respite program that if you are caring for someone, there are some funds available. If you qualify, we also offer our Savvy Caregiver classes. These classes, if you have a family member or a loved one or someone you know that's dealing with dementia, these are a great way to get the information about that. These are 6-week classes that are offered throughout the course of the year. And they're offered both in person and virtually. And then we have our support groups, and most recently, we've just added with our kinship families. So for folks that are helping to raise their grandchildren or other family members, young family members. And then we have our adult day program. What I should have mentioned at the beginning was that our offices, we sold our building in Scarborough that some of you may have been familiar with during the pandemic, and moved to our adult day center in Biddeford on Barrow Road. It's a beautiful state-of-the-art facility, and I welcome any of you to schedule a time to come down and tour the facility. It's been now almost going on 2 years since we reopened up from the pandemic, and census is growing all the time. It's just an incredible way for families to be able to be afforded some respite, knowing that their loved ones are being cared for, and more importantly, that they're being engaged and active at the center. And so again, I would welcome anyone to come and visit our center. It's just a beautiful facility. And this talks about some of the programs that happen. Obviously, we just got over the holidays. There was all kinds of activities going on, but there's constantly baking on a daily basis. They have their exercise programs, weather permitting, there's gardening, there's always music in our projects. And we have specific volunteers in this program. We look for folks that are able to assist right with the members within the program that come in as activity aides, but we also have greeters that come in and greet the families and the members, help them get started and settled into the program. Here's our contact information. One thing that I wanted to say before I wrapped up my presentation here was to talk about the additional opportunities. In addition to, as I mentioned, we really look at matching volunteers based on their skills and interest. And I think that's been one of our successes. And we look to be very flexible, as Kathy mentioned in her presentation. Really, that's the key to, I think, any volunteer program is really being flexible. So we look to match folks based on where your interests lay. And then again, it can be anywhere from a few hours to more each week that we look to. But in addition, we have, we work with Southern Maine Healthcare, Maine Medical Center, their elder life programs, AARP Tax Aid, Alzheimer's Association. Most recently, we're working with Jewish Community Alliance with their refugee resettlement. So those are just some of, but I'd be happy to speak individually to any and all of you that might be interested in learning more about what programs we have to offer. So thank you very much.
Mary, thank you. That was amazing. I had no idea there were so many things going on. I mean, just so many opportunities for people to get involved. Did you say, this is me asking because I wrote it down. Did you say 4,400 volunteers?
No, 400.
Oh, I was like, how do you have that many? But 400 is still a lot. I mean, that's a lot of volunteers. And, you know, on that personal level, as I know how important that was to David to be able to bring that experience, you know, for folks choosing the Medicare programs and how to look at those things. I know that was so important to him, but obviously there's room for people with all kinds of experience and background, whether it's arts or writing or, you know, cooking, baking, or it sounds like there's something for everyone with your organization.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say, as you know, as the two previous presenters said, we couldn't do this work without the help of our volunteers. You truly do make a difference on a daily basis. So for that, we're internally grateful.
No, I mean, it's so important. And I've seen your facility because I came down to see the David's bench when that was dedicated. So it's a beautiful facility, and I encourage folks to think about that. That's an awesome list of ways to be involved in your community. Thank you very much. So we're going to move to our last speaker, last but not least. Shannon Cote is joining us from the Animal Refuge League of Greater Portland. And Shannon. Shannon's been with the organization since 2016. She oversees the organization's shelter, helper, and foster family communities. I am a very happy subscriber to that Saturday morning e-blast that goes out every week to find out what you all are doing. I mean, it's amazing to me what you all do. And it's one of the first things I read on Saturday mornings when I check my email. But Shannon, you know, there's a passion about what you do at the Animal Refuge League of Greater Portland. And I know that you do life-saving work and you do it with the help of volunteers. And I can't wait for you to tell us more, because I think I told you I had a tour of your facility, so I know just how many bodies that you need in there at any given time. So please share with us. And folks, if you have questions, reminder to hit the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and I'll feed those questions to Shannon. But Shannon, thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Let me just share my screen here and get that kind of up and going for you guys. Great. So can we see my screen okay? Perfect. Yeah, so excited to be part of the presentation today. We definitely, like everyone else has said, rely on our volunteers to kind of help us do the work that we do every day. I love this opening slide because it kind of has like this superhero feel. This is on the tarmac at Portland Jetport, staff and volunteers waiting for a flight of animals to land. That definitely is one of the many ways that our volunteers can help, but just kind of a cool visual. So let's see. So I know many of you are probably familiar with us as an organization. We've been here in Westbrook since about 1960, and in our new facility just behind the old shelter for about 7 years. But yeah, so we're an animal shelter where, you know, first and foremost, our goal is to provide temporary care and shelter to the animals that come to us. And those are animals that either come to us from the local community or some of those transports, which I will talk about in a bit. But again, you know, part of our mission statement is that nurturing the connection between people and pets to advance animal welfare and improve the quality of life for animals in our community. So in addition to being an adoption center, we are also very committed to working within our community in a lot of different ways. So again, bottom bullet here, creating awareness and support of animal welfare issues and adoption, not only locally, but nationally. So kind of speaking to that community resource aspect, it's always in our best interest to help good loving pet owners when we can keep their pets in their home. So if that means providing access to low-cost veterinary services, we have a spay-neuter clinic for those that qualify, as well as quarterly wellness clinics that are open to the public. We run a pet food pantry for folks that might need some assistance during a transitional time. But things like microchipping our animals and public animals, which would make, in the event of an animal getting lost, easier to reconnect with the owner. We offer puppy and adult training classes for community pets and have a really amazing humane education department that really engages with youth in our community in a lot of exciting ways. So that's just some of the work that we kind of do within the community to help support animals in those spaces. And then kind of getting back to that adoption center aspect of what we do. Of course, a lot of adoptions. We see about 4,000 animals every year come through our doors, and you can kind of see the breakdown. So lots of cats, lots of dogs, and a lot of small animals as well. Small animals for us are your guinea pigs, rats, hamsters, gerbils, bunnies, of course. But animals come to us from our local community, as I mentioned. So those would be our owner surrenders, strays, confiscated animals, but mostly from out-of-state transports. So the majority of our animals actually come from the South, and we kind of have the opposite problem here in New England as our southern partners, in that we rely on those out-of-state transports in order to meet the demand for adoptions in this area. We don't struggle with overpopulation in the same way that some of these other rescues do. And so one way that we can help is to partner with them to get those animals out here where they're highly adoptable and allow them to continue to create more space so that they can keep helping animals in their area. So starting to get into some volunteer stuff, I think there's some really cool numbers that we love to talk about. We operate typically with about 50 to 55 staff members, and on average about 270 weekly scheduled volunteers. We have an overall volunteer community of about 600. That's going to include also our foster families out in the community, volunteers that don't have a regular weekly shift, but help out as needed. So things like events and things like that. And on average, they donate about 27,000 hours of time, which is pretty crazy if you break that down into the number of full-time staff members. Our volunteers kind of do the work equivalent of 13 full-time staff members, which is amazing. So our volunteers really are the heart of our organization. Without them, we aren't able to do this work, and they help us with every aspect of what we do. So just some examples of volunteer roles. We have, of course, our feline and small animal care and cleaning, similar roles related to dogs. So our kennel cleaners, dog walkers, midday kind of low arousal rest and relaxation time. But in addition to animal care, we have a lot of positions such as administrative work. Laundry is huge. The previous slide stated that we do about 600 pounds of laundry a day. So having clean, fresh laundry really impacts our ability to provide healthy, happy spaces. So some of our most important volunteer shifts are actually laundry, donation, sorting, and organizing. If you've been to the shelter and been able to see some of the behind the scenes aspects, there's a lot of supplies, a lot of food, a lot of toys, and really just staying on top of keeping everything organized and easily accessible is so key to our day-to-day. So definitely a lot of opportunities for folks, both animal handling related and then also other ways of supporting the shelter. So for us, the way that we are able to really be successful and just plan the day-to-day, we're typically looking for volunteers that can commit to a regular kind of weekly shift. And typically we're looking for folks that are willing to stick with us for, we say 6 months. There's some flexibility there, but that allows us to really invest in the training that we want for our volunteers to be able to work safely and to be able to really provide that support that's needed to the staff on the teams. We want to be able to really, again, invest in that training and have our volunteers feel confident and be successful. Our minimum ask is typically to 1 shift a week, and most of our shifts are 2 hours long. So it's not a huge commitment, but each of those 2-hour shifts, multiply that by 270 volunteers, and that is a very big impact. So all of that really kind of comes together and helps us meet that kind of bigger goal. We are here because we are caring for animals 365 days a year. And most of our shifts take place between the hours of 7:30 in the morning and 6 at night. Of course, we do have kind of one-off needs that fall within that normal schedule. So those are our events. We will often put out calls for a driver to maybe take an animal to a specialized vet visit or something like that. So there are other kind of options in terms of the timing of when a shift might happen. And of course, folks that are only available on the weekends, it might take a little bit longer to find a regular shift just because those shifts are very popular. Weekday shifts are usually a little easier to kind of fill right away, but we're typically able to find something for everyone and find something that works with their availability. So kind of going back a little bit to those types of opportunities that are not a regular weekly shift here in the shelter. I did mention events. So we have a couple of kind of bigger on-campus events. We have our holiday open house or tree and wreath sale. We have a dog-friendly beer festival that happens every year at various locations. And we're typically looking for crews of volunteers to kind of join us and help with every aspect of making that event a success. I also mentioned briefly, we frequently put a call out for a driver to maybe pick up or deliver supplies somewhere, bring an animal to a vet visit. Sometimes we have grounds and maintenance projects that we're looking for a crew of volunteers to help with. And of course, fostering. So fostering is another really great way to get involved for an animal shelter. All of the animals that come to us typically have some kind of a quarantine or decompression time, especially our puppies and kittens. When they're coming in, they're at a really key stage of development. And so before they're able to become available for adoption, we really love to have them be able to spend time in a home, getting that socialization, getting that interaction, being exposed to different sights and smells and sounds. So if you're not able to come and volunteer at the shelter, but maybe you are able to bring a puppy or a kitten home for a weekend event. That's another really impactful way that you can get involved. All right, so our application process is for the most part done completely online. We do have a 15-minute orientation video that we ask everyone to watch that can be accessed right on the volunteer page of our website. There's a quick quiz at the end to just help us verify that you have watched it. And if you pass, which isn't too difficult, the application is unlocked and you can go ahead and get that started. In the application, you will have a chance to choose a small group volunteer planning session. So before you get started, we will have you come here and meet with either myself or our volunteer coordinator to talk more specifically about what our current volunteer needs are, go over some of the listed logistics around scheduling, do a full tour of the facility, and then from there, we'll go ahead and get you started. So we're always excited to have new volunteers, and we run these planning sessions typically twice a month. All right, so this is me with one of my favorite dogs that has been here through the shelter, Shrek. You're always welcome to shoot us an email at volunteer@arlgp.org if you do have follow-up questions after this that maybe you don't think about in the Q&A. Our website is listed right on this slide as well. But yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone does have any specific questions about our program or about volunteering.
So Shannon, one did come through.
Yeah.
And it's what jobs are available to work with helping socialize dogs and cats. Is that a particular job?
Yeah, it's not a job in and of itself. Our major needs with animals and the thing that's most important for them in terms of kind of their stay here is cleaning, a lot of cleaning. And that socialization and interaction is kind of a byproduct of some of those caregiver shifts. So we don't have shifts that are specifically just socializing, but that socializing and interaction is part of, doing that work, with them, be it feeding, being it tidying up their cage or kennel. Obviously, if you're a dog walker, that socialization and one-on-one interaction is happening during that time. So it's definitely a need, but it's something that kind of happens within the context of a shift that also entails other duties.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is my personal question. How many foster fails do you have a month?
Oh,
Meaning people who don't give them back.
Yeah, it does happen. We do sort of request when fosters are signing up. Well, we are sure to sort of just make sure that people understand that the intent of the foster program is not to kind of test trial animals to see if it's a good fit. For us, we are looking for foster families that potentially can continue to foster. Bringing them back and letting them go is definitely, really difficult, especially when you've had them for a longer period of time. But it's so exciting to see them get adopted. Especially when they get adopted really quickly, like our puppies and kittens. But sometimes you just know, this animal is the perfect fit for our family. And we certainly understand that. We ask our fosters to let us know as soon as possible if they're thinking they'd like to adopt their foster, just so that we can, kind of work that into the timing. So, it happens once in a while, but I think we're really fortunate here in that animals do get adopted very quickly. There's a lot of interest in the community. So yeah.
Well, I encourage folks, if you have not, that newsletter I was talking about that gets emailed on Saturday mornings, it details all of the wonderful work that you're doing. And it just always brings a smile to my face. It's a great way to wake up on a Saturday and just to read about the amazing work that you're all doing there.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to look into getting on that list because it's an email worth opening, I promise.
Yeah, and so that's our Saturday morning news. And you can join that email list, actually, if you just go right to our website, right from the homepage, all the way down at the bottom, subscribe to our newsletter. We'll ask you to put in your email and you'll start getting that.
Yeah, no, it's a great read. It's a great It's a nice way to stay connected. But that concludes our program of our 4 speakers. And I just want to say thank you again to the 5 of you from 4 organizations. It was so kind of you to take the time to do this. We really feel like there are people in our community here at OceanView and at Cumberland Crossing, but also in the greater Portland community who are interested in knowing what these kinds of volunteer opportunities, what they look like and where they are. So it's so kind of all of you to take the time to join us. So thank you. I wanted to let folks know that what we typically do after a presentation like this is if you did sign up and you got the emails to get online with us here, in the next day or so, it could be this afternoon, it could be tomorrow, you'll receive a link to the recording of this video. So of this conversation, you'll have a video link. And then that way, if there's a particular organization, you know, you didn't write down quickly enough how to reach them or what the person's name was, you'll see that in the video that we send out to you. And we typically, you know, this will be available for anyone who wants to look at it later as well. So we thank you all, and please volunteer in your communities, everyone. This is a great way to do it and a great introduction from these folks. And if I have anything to say about it, we're going to keep doing this every January just to get people connected to such amazing groups like these. So take care, everyone.
Thank
We'll see
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.